What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hungover History podcast. We've had a little hiatus, all right, but for good reason here. Mike, you had a nice little trip to Ireland, which is very thematic with this episode here.
Oh yeah, no, it worked out well with the timing.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the IRA. It's going to be kind of a broad episode.
It's one of those things where Ireland has one of those weird histories that's not usually like taught about in public schools or whatever. And so much of it is deeply tied with Ireland's relationship to England. So
yeah,
it's going to be a bit of IRA, a bit of just general history of like the early stuff that could have helped lead up to it and instigate it.
And I feel like too, like the American involvement, because although like America as a country really wasn't involved too directly, I know there's a lot of Irish Americans here, including you.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are plenty of stories of, I've heard stories from family members that back in the day, 70s through like 90s, at different churches around America, half the money that people were donating was going back to Ireland to help fund the IRA. And a lot of it also is in Ireland, you can't buy firearms really. There's only hunting.
Right.
And back in the 70s, 80s and shit, in America, you could buy machine guns. You could buy an Uzi.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of just private donations to people who still had cousins and uncles.
Gun smuggling and stuff.
Yeah, or just it was pretty easy to fucking illegally ship shit. They really started cracking down though as the troubles progressed.
Yeah. So what are we drinking today, though, Mike? What do you got there? You got a special one today.
So we got this in Ireland. It's from the Littleton Distillery. So there's only one real whiskey distillery still in Ireland. They produce Jameson and some other of the big Irish names, but this is Redbreast.
That looks legit.
Started in 1912, and you can only buy this in Ireland at that distillery. They only sell it at the distillery. It's very, very delicious. But
you went on a little distillery trip, right?
Yeah, we went to that one and we did a tour of the distillery, which is fucking insane.
Awesome.
Process that they do to make it, and it just hasn't changed at all. Like,
I'm sure.
They went heavily into the history of Irish whiskey. I mean, there was times during the potato famine where the distillery shut down for like fucking 70 years. No one was able to work because just everyone was dying. There was no barley or crops to make whiskey. So it's a little weird.
I mean, the Irish have definitely had it tough, but they're still surviving, man.
Yeah, dude, barely. It's weird because I did some research on Ireland before I went. I've always been interested, but I was under the impression it was like the Silicon Valley of Europe, and it's this very wealthy, progressive country. A lot of the country is poor as shit, dude.
Really?
Like, just talking to a lot of the people, it's more so the government has a lot of money, and a lot of people rely on government and social services there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird. It's
and you just went. You didn't go to Northern Ireland, right?
No. That's a whole different passport stamp, because when you're in the normal Ireland, you're part in the European Union,
right?
That's its own country. Then there's Northern Ireland, which is this weird sectioned off. I think it's 12 counties, 11 counties, and that's just partitioned. In that shit, it's been like that since the Good Friday Accords, which happened in the 90s. But it's that area is under English rule. It's a part of Great Britain. And when Brexit happened, that was a huge issue. When England left the European Union, that kind of fucked up the border crossings and the trade between the two countries. So it is totally weird. There's a lot of people there in Ireland who have very strong feelings about reunite the island is a popular slogan. Stuff like that.
So what are they using for currency in Northern Ireland? Is it pounds?
Yeah, and in Ireland it's euro.
It's euros. Oh, okay, interesting.
So pounds and euros.
That's probably better for spending. I feel like the euro and the U.S. dollar are a lot closer than the pound.
Yeah, at the time I was there, I think a dollar was 77 cents to the euro.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not an exchange rate.
No. Yeah, the pound gets like pretty weird. I remember I went to England like a while ago, so I don't really remember it, but I remember stuff being more expensive in England. I got the Guinness today, of course. Bring her over, and I don't have the actual glass, but I got Alec Guinness on there. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's
Very
actually
nice.
that's a pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I got to ask you, Mike.
Sapporo.
You went to the Guinness. Oh, Sapporo. Whoa.
My dad's been a fan of these, dude. At Costco, they sell the 24 pack.
Oh, the big ones. Yep.
Well, $20. The 20 big case of Sapporo for $20.
They have like 40 packs of Coors for like 22. It's crazy. Go to Costco. The Costco guys.
Costco guy.
Yeah. No brain rot today. I got to ask though, Mike, you went to the Guinness factory at Dublin, correct? Is it true? Are the Guinnesses that much better there?
Yeah. So when Guinness comes to America, it's pasteurized, just like anything else when it's
okay.
So that messes with it. And also in Ireland, they keep their Guinness kegs colder than they do in America. So those are some big ones. But it's a bit different, but I feel like it's the same thing as like drinking a Mai Tai on the beach versus at the Lucky Dog. It's just,
yes.
you know, it's like, all right, this feels proper here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I mean, I never drank so much Guinness consecutive. Like I probably took down like 30 Guinness while I was there.
It's honestly kind of like a light beer, like calorie wise and stuff. Yeah,
mate, man. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Another weird one they had was they had Coors, and it was just Coors,
Really?
not Coors Light, not Coors Banquet. It was 4.4% alcohol. It looked like Coors Light, but it was almost like a Miller High Life type. And I was asking the bartender about it, and he was like, "Oh no, they brew it here because you know we like drinking."
I was gonna say,
it's real. So
was it good?
Fucking delicious. I drank a zillion of those.
That's weird. I could never imagine like them brewing Coors in Ireland.
Send you a video of it. It's hilarious. But yeah, every bar has Coors.
So but the Irish, they're not is it the English who do warm beer?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say like a Guinness warm. I don't know if that would work.
Oh, dude, I'd rather shoot myself.
Yeah. But speaking of shooting, let's talk about the IRA, man, because they did a lot of shooting. So I mean, like we said, it's a broad topic, but for those of you who don't know, the IRA, it stands for the Irish Republican Army, and they're like a paramilitary organization that kind of sprung up from all like the division in Ireland, like you said, between the British and the local people there. It's complicated. They're involved in a lot of conflicts. I mean, there's still definitely. Would you compare them to like the mafia in America today, where like they exist but they don't really do much?
What, the IRA?
Yeah, like today.
Honestly, not.
No.
Well, certain elements of it, because they do get money from illegal shit. For a while, there was drug dealing and stuff like that. But they truly are more of a classic insurgency group. Rather, maybe I don't know anything about the OG Italian mafia if they were like in a little war with the government, but I would say it's almost more like a Hamas or an Al Qaeda kind of.
It's all like guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, and it was a local population that had an external threat from other people who came there to disrupt the way of life.
Yeah, and they use a lot of guerrilla tactics like bombings and stuff like that, right? Yeah.
The old term for IED was Irish explosive device.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the thing.
I didn't even know that. Oh, wow.
I saw a little quick video from this Navy SEAL who was Navy SEAL in like the 80s and 90s. And he was talking about how he was training with the SAS, which is England's premier special forces group. And his last name was Murphy. And he was talking about how some of the guys were giving him shit. Because at the time, the SAS were like doing deployments to Northern Ireland. Like they were literally acting as like the Navy SEALs would in Afghanistan in Ireland.
Oh wow.
There was multiple SAS who were killed by the.
And they were fighting the IRA.
They were fighting the IRA. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, it started. I mean, so let's start at least for the troubled state of the 60s. So I forget the name of the protests because whiskey, but it was pretty much during the 60s. They were kind of motivated by the American Civil Rights Movement and what MLK was doing. And they kind of saw their same struggle in African Americans who lived in Jim Crow South, where they were a bit segregated in lots of areas in Northern Ireland, where it's like you couldn't work in certain sectors of the government if you were Catholic. You couldn't, and it was really all Catholic versus Protestant. It's not even Irish versus English. Because there was
and it's not even a race thing either, which is
it's ideologically driven. But it started like that back in the day when England was trying to up the rate of Protestants who lived in Ireland, and they were really trying to erase Irish culture overall. I mean, they stopped
Mhm.
and they banned Gaelic, the original Irish language. They completely banned it, and the percentages plummeted over the 800 years that England occupied it. But yeah, it started. There were these protests, and they were watching them on TV in America. So a lot of young Irish people, primarily students, much like the civil rights, were protesting about equal rights, this and that. And it was other Protestants who lived mainly in Belfast, is where a lot of them were happening, would
Yep.
clash. And it slowly progressed worse and worse. And the government of Northern Ireland is obviously all Protestant run for the most part. So originally they called in the 22nd Para, which I guess is kind of comparable to like the 81st Ranger element or like something
Okay.
like it's
The airborne. Yeah.
yeah, they called in the fucking troops.
Yep.
And for the first like 3 days, it was good. You could see stories about like Irish women bringing tea and shit to the British soldiers.
Hmm.
And then I think it was Bloody Sunday was the name of the
That
shooting.
sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's
Well,
1972.
I didn't even.
I
It's funny
believe.
that you brought up the influence of the civil rights in America, because I didn't even like connect that.
Oh yeah.
But I
I mean,
mean,
it's
if you look at the '60s, I feel like the '60s were one of the most tumultuous periods everywhere.
and even funnier. There was also just I mean, they were motivated by the American Revolution. They were like, holy
Wow.
shit, they kicked out
They can
England.
do
We
it to
haven't,
the
they
Britain
haven't been
too.
able
Yeah.
to, but here it was. Bloody
And
Sunday
what?
was an incident that took place on January 30th, 1972, in Londonderry, Northern Ireland, when British paratroopers opened fire on unarmed civilians participating in a civil rights march.
That is not a good look.
No, it's a tough one. Well, I mean, then the IRA obviously was like, all right, time to bomb like a bunch of people.
And that's kind of honestly like the American Revolution. That's kind of like the was it the Boston massacre
Yeah, the
when they
Boston
start
Massacre.
shooting? Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, so a shitload of people were killed and injured, and that really set off the guerrilla movement. But
Yeah.
it had also always been a thing. Like, I mean, if you want to talk about some of the earlier stuff, because another thing that people often overlook is Ireland became like the actual country of Ireland, not
Yeah.
Northern Ireland, became a country in 1922.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's fucking new compared to a lot
Yeah.
of other ones. And that entire time they were under English rule. They were a colony the same as Jamaica was, India, South Africa, any other English colony.
I was pulling up here a little bit of that earlier conflict because, like you said, if they were founded in 1922, you say?
Well, 22 is yeah when Ireland was founded. The
Oh,
IRA.
right. Okay, so
believes-
that's like the Irish War of Independence, because that's what when I was researching initially about the IRA, the Irish War of Independence seemed to be like the first big
Yeah,
war on their turf,
totally.
right? And that was 1919 to 1921. So that would
Mhm.
make sense that
Right
following
after
that,
World War One.
right?
Right after World War One. Yeah.
I know it's like one thing after the other when you really look at it in that.
Well, a lot of
Uh,
it stemmed from Irish soldiers who were conscripted to fight for England. And
oh,
all
interesting.
right, they came back and they were combat trained, combat tested
Yeah,
through trench warfare. So a lot of it kicked off with guys like that.
yeah. So what I the big name that came to me when I was looking at this was Michael Collins, and he was kind of the leader of the IRA in its like
Oh,
early
yeah.
stages. And obviously, like you said, they were using ambushes and sabotage to try to get the British to negotiate. So in this first conflict, the Irish War of Independence, it resulted in two separate political entities. You had the Irish Free State, and then you had Northern Ireland. So now, obviously, we know that Northern Ireland is the area that is part of the United Kingdom, and the
Mhm.
Irish Free State consisted of 26 counties that were granted Dominion status within the British Empire. So, still, I mean, that still sounds like you're somewhat involved
They were on
with
the leash.
England,
Yeah.
right? So then the next thing that happened, which literally was the year after, was the Irish Civil War. And that's when the IRA itself kind of split in two. You had the Free State led by Michael Collins, which was in support of the treaty with England. And then you had they called them the Irregulars, who were not in support of them. led by Eamon de Valera. It's a very Irish name, Eamon.
Oh
Yeah. So then what's interesting about this is the war ended. The irregulars kind of surrendered, but not really. They never surrendered their arms or anything. And then it kind of seems like it fizzles out until, like you said, the troubles in the 60s, because obviously you had in between there World War II,
yeah.
which I did see this. I don't know that I didn't go too deep into it, but it says that the IRA continued their acts of violence throughout this period, and they also sought the assistance of Hitler to help remove the British from Ireland.
I didn't know about that, man.
But honestly, though, like if you look at it within the context of like Hitler was going obviously heavily against Britain and Churchill was heavily against Hitler, I feel like they might have just saw that as an opportunity, you know, before it got bad. Because I feel like Hitler in the 30s, a lot of people didn't know what he had in mind.
Yeah, I mean, he
You
was
know?
Time Magazine Man of the Year. IBM worked with Hitler.
Right.
It's yeah, but it's not surprising, and they've always kind of. I mean, they got help from Gaddafi. Like,
Right.
they
Well,
got help
and like you
from
said
the
too,
Soviet
they're very
Union.
attracted by revolutions happening elsewhere. So I
Yeah.
mean, for better or worse, that was, you know, a revolution of some sorts in Germany. So they probably saw that, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, initially not a great look, but you know, the IRA definitely does some controversial stuff. But I mean, I feel like the
So
Britain's got a bad history too of just being really oppressive. I mean, we had the U.S. and then we had India, and India doesn't gain their independence till like the 80s, right?
yeah, no, no.
Yeah,
The more you go into actual history, not to be that guy, but it's like England is fucking sucks.
they're a villain. Yeah,
Like, not great. And even then, it's like the IRA did a lot of fucked up shit, but it's weird. Their bombings. So I didn't know this, and I learned this there, and I looked it up because I was like, all right, clearly the Irish are lying to me. But
yeah,
they were talking about how the IRA would usually try and minimize civilian casualties to the farthest extent they could. They only really want to target police officers and soldiers. And their
okay,
bombing runs, they would call in like a bombing threat to a building so it would get evacuated, and then they would bomb like a bank or like London's Wall Street. They also did kill a lot of civilians, like a lot.
but they were they were targeting the infrastructure, not
Lem-
the people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
their goal was to make England pay as much monetary value. Like
yes,
they bankrupted insurance companies through
yeah,
their acts of terrorism. It's actually
yeah.
like
So I mean, I mean, I feel like the IRA, like when you look it up, when you hear paramilitary group and stuff, you immediately think like almost like a terrorist organization. But I mean, they were in some ways, but they, like you said, they didn't have malicious intent, right? They
yeah.
were just trying to gain that freedom.
Yeah, no, it was truly most of it was towards. So here's a list of some of the things they would bomb. The
Okay.
Baltic Exchange bombing. This bombing costed 800 million pounds in damage. The Docklands bombing, another 150 million pounds. The city of London bombing that caused. So just when they were bombing in London, like they would bomb fucking.
Oh, actually in London?
Oh, dude, yeah, they were.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
yeah, man, they were sending guys over to bomb England all the time.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So it's weird their bombing campaign because it was heavily influenced on that. It wasn't too many actual vertical land warfare battles during the Troubles. There
Right.
were a bunch of them, and they were really cool. Reading about it, it's like holy shit, that's wild.
I was
For
going to say, this is definitely something you could go deeper into. There's so
oh,
many
dude, that's
layers
why
to it.
I almost want to do multiple ones. Like there's this one story of the South Armagh sniper who
Mhm.
was using a Barrett 50 cal, American produced Barrett 50 caliber sniper rifle, and he was American. He was an ex-Marine,
Oh, wow.
and he was just popping British soldiers with this Barrett 50
Really?
out in Northern Ireland in the Highlands.
He just went over there to do it?
Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
good amount of Americans who did. It's like in the episode about Kosovo, the cab
Yeah.
driver, his brother went over to fight for Albania. It's weird.
Well, because yeah, if you look at it during that time, I mean, we're already not that far away from generations of
Oh,
people,
yeah.
but they were even closer, and they probably knew people there. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Like I remember I used to hear my grandfather occasionally talk about like Ireland because that's where my family is from, Armagh and Derry. But
okay,
I would occasionally hear him talk about it and be like, why does Poppy hate the British?
yeah,
Not hate, but has this weird contention with. But it is, yeah, it's really a deep, in-depth history. And I feel like I say this on every one, but we could do like 20 episodes on this
yeah.
subtopic. But we can try and keep it broad, but I also just want to get into, where was it?
Did you go to any of the towns where your family was from?
No, because they're all in Northern Ireland. So that would
Oh,
mean
okay,
full
okay,
border crossing and all
yeah.
that. Get the passport
So
stamped and go.
most of these bombings and conflicts happened in Northern Ireland then?
Yeah,
Like they
the
went over
actual,
there to do it? Yeah.
well, at the start of the original Troubles, which people consider like the early 60s to the 90s,
Yeah.
actually some even early 2000s. But yeah, that's all for the most part, Northern Ireland and occasional bombings in England.
Yeah, it says here that for the Troubles, which this places it at 1968 to
Mhm.
1998. So you get 30 years there. It's a long time. And it says around 3,600 killed and more than 30,000 wounded. So obviously those are just rough numbers. Who knows if that's accurate, but still over the course of 30 years in a normal war, that's not a lot of casualties. But for something that was, I think they classified it as like a low intensity conflict. So because, like you said, it was a lot of smaller bombings, little. It was almost more like a Cold War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it seems like around roughly 1,800 civilians were killed during that period as well. So it's a
Oh,
good,
so out of the yeah, that's crazy.
yeah.
It's like half. I mean, when you're doing the bombings and stuff, like you said, like you can try to evacuate the people, but that you can't really control the radius of a bomb at the end of the day when you're doing it in public places like that. So
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately, that stuff's going to happen.
And there is another thing where it's the Catholics were not the only ones who had militias. There was many Protestant militias in Northern Ireland that would
Yeah.
also carry out acts, kidnapping, murder, sectarian violence. So it's weird and it's tough to get accurate numbers on it. But I guess let's just plow ahead
I was
to.
going to say, on that note of the Catholic thing, though, I thought, because I kind of just like dawned on me, it's like, why is Ireland Catholic?
I mean, I can.
You know,
So yeah,
so well, yeah, I pulled it up here and it says, because Christianity was introduced to the country in the 5th century and gradually replaced the pagan traditions that were
mhm.
prevalent before. So yeah, so a lot of missionary work.
St. Patrick, man.
Because honestly, man, like Celtic history is like really
Oh,
interesting too,
badass.
and the mythology
The
there.
Irish were such savages when the fucking Vikings showed up in like 400, 500
Yeah,
or whatever. They literally there was like written down. Same with the Romans. It was like these people are animals. What the fuck?
yeah,
They would just go into the woods and they would just see a dad cut his daughter's head off and eat it. They
yeah.
were like, holy
Oh
shit.
yeah. It is
These
just interesting though,
monsters.
because England is not Catholic. You would assume that they both had the
And
same.
yeah,
Yeah,
and they were for a bit, but it's when the Anglican Church was created. So like
yeah.
England really got interested. It was in 1609, Scottish and English settlers who were called planters. They were
Okay.
given they were given these massive plots of land in Ireland under the plantation of Ulster. So this is up in Northern Ireland, and Ulster is still highly tied to it. So then that combined with Protestant immigration to unplanted areas where they had just chipped out Irish people,
Right.
they was just driving people in from the course of like 1600 to the 1750s. And from the start, like there were plenty of Catholics who kind of revolted, but you can't do much at the time. England was like the second most powerful military in the world,
Yeah.
so they kind of just steamrolled everyone.
Well, yeah, I feel like in that period of like the colonization and stuff, they had the huge navy, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, it's very
And the
different
other
from like
thing is,
England today.
oh,
Yeah.
totally, and they were at war with France at times, and France is
Right.
at the time
And
very Catholic.
Spain.
Yeah, and all these
Yeah.
are Catholic countries, so they saw Ireland as potentially weakening their position.
Yeah.
So they wanted to convert the island, and that's what they attempted to do, but did not go over well.
Yeah, that whole period is interesting because it is really just England, Spain, and France with their own and then obviously you have
Portugal was doing
Spain
some
have
stuff.
their whole yeah.
Netherlands, yeah, no, it's weird. Yeah, those were the superpowers. I mean, look at the languages that are spoken by so many people.
Right.
English,
No, yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah.
How many fucking countries speak Spanish?
Right. Yeah. And
They
then
what we want about
France,
Spain now, but
yeah. But because you did mention that like the 1600s was a big period kind of where this kind of sprung from, and it makes sense because I looked
yeah,
up King Henry VIII. He was the one who split from the Catholic Church famously because he couldn't get divorced. He
yep.
really wanted to get divorced, so he just made a new church.
This is a pro-Catholic episode.
Yeah, and that was like in the 1500s, so that makes sense.
Oh yeah. So then they were worried, so they were shipping people over. I mean, truly, that's how it started. Like, as much as you want to get into like whatever happened in the 60s and 70s or the early 1900s, it started because England was sending over massive amounts of people who were kicking people off of their land, taking farms, and I mean the term was planter colonialist.
Yeah.
And
And
for a long time, their start was truly like just get rid of the native people, get rid of their language, get rid of the culture, get rid of the religion.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in Ireland are still very well compared to America, where it's like, I didn't know that. Whoa.
Well, yeah, because we really don't have, I mean, we have like the traditional Revolutionary War stuff that we all learn in school, but even that feels like so distant. I feel like for us, like the most like relevant, like World War II, maybe, but like that's not even it's not an interconnect. It's not a
World War II is
conflict
one where it's like both my grandfathers were in it, all their brothers.
Yeah.
So it's like I have that one distant link to it. But even then, none of them really talked about it too much. Small
and
stuff.
Even the Civil War, even that really wasn't that long ago, but like we really don't talk about it that much.
5-6 generations?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's weird how interconnected they are with their history there.
Yeah.
A lot of, and don't get me wrong, I met only 2 people and they were both English tourists, but they were not fans of Catholics, I suppose you could say.
Really? Yeah.
When you're in Europe, like I was chilling with Bulgarian guys, like all sorts of, they have random weird ethnic beefs that I haven't even heard of. You know what I mean?
Oh, not just with the Catholics, just in general.
Just like in general, like in the entire continent of Europe, it's like an entire different level of like racism towards one another.
Honestly, in a weird way, you could probably compare it to like on a much smaller scale, like Boston and New York people. Like, because that's kind of what it is, because Europe is like really just a bunch of small countries connected there, and they all, there's a lot of closer borders like us. So I guess that's kind of the one way to look at it. But again, they have such a deeper history than we do.
Oh, me and my dad went to church in Dublin.
Oh, that's awesome.
Leaving the mass, the church was built in like fucking 1120. I was like, holy shit.
And then like it has like the echoing and stuff, right?
Well, it's just the way that it's weird because our history starts what 16, if you want to start with Columbus, like 1500s or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And they just go, they're deep with it. But we're getting
the architecture and stuff. No, yeah, but it is cool. It is cool.
You know, dude, it's beautiful the way that they build over there.
I was gonna say too, while we're on that subject too, it's interesting that obviously when England settled here in America, like a lot of Protestant.
Well, it was religious freedom. It was originally
right.
Fucking pilgrims, and it wasn't even Protestants. They were also getting bullied by Protestants.
Yeah, but it's interesting because that's where it started. But like the two of us obviously grew up Catholic. Like all those Irish immigrants and the Italians, like they all, they kind of settled that, which is interesting.
Totally. No, I mean, you look at the groups that are heavily Catholic. It's Irish, Italian, pretty much across the board, Hispanic and Latin America. Yeah. And then I don't know, Poland. Poland's very Catholic.
Yeah. So weird. That is true. I feel like Mexico is a very strong Catholic.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Every Latino I see on a job site as the fucking Marriott. Like, the boys are Catholic.
Yes. We're still alive. We're still around. So yeah, where were we?
I mean, so we started on the 60s, then I just got diverted because I was like, I want to provide a bit more context to like why they're bombing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and shit, we can do a small bit on the famine, on how it was a famine. There was
Potato
truly
famine.
that was fucking shit up, but a lot of the people died truly because at the time Ireland was managed by England. England mismanaged it. They had multiple armies all over the world they had to feed, and they were exporting a large amount of food from Ireland that could have fed people.
Yeah,
See,
so
not even the potato famine. They just call it the famine.
yeah, I just looked it up. Yeah, they call it the Great Hunger, the famine, the Irish potato famine.
Dude, fucking 1 million people died. And that's in
What?
like, you didn't know that?
Yeah,
Dude,
no, I didn't know it was that many.
yeah. No,
What's
dude,
their
the
even?
Irish
What was their
died.
population? The population fell by 20 to 25%.
Dude,
That's
yeah.
insane.
A quarter of
And by
the
death
people
and
know.
emigration.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not great, right?
Because that's honestly that's something that I like. I've heard of the potato famine, but I didn't really know too much about
No,
it.
they didn't
I
get
didn't
their
realize it was that
potatoes.
bad.
Oh, dude, yeah, it was over a course of like 10 years. 1 million people starved to death. Starved. Not in a war, just died of hunger. There
Wait a
was
minute. I don't know anything about this. It was
dude, I
started.
had people
This says
telling
when a
me,
mole caused a destructive plant disease.
well,
I didn't know this.
it fucked up the fan, but a lot of it was because truly England was exporting crops. It wasn't only potatoes. They
Yeah.
were, they had plenty of livestock and shit. But Irish people were telling me, I went to this museum, the Immigration Museum,
Okay.
which is all about the Irish diaspora all over the world. All these Irish people who have left, and a huge part of it's obviously from the war and the famine. And there was like these crazy paintings, and they would see dead children with green mouths from eating grass, trying
Oh,
to eat grass for some form of nourishment. Like,
because that was the only thing.
yeah, and they would just die eating grass in fields. On the roads to Dublin, you just see fields with hundreds of dead people. So
Wow.
Ireland has this very fucking dark history where it's seeded in sectarian violence, conflict, and it came to a boiling point in the 60s. All these people who grew up being very conscious of their history and having stories passed down were like, all right, no more. We tried to do it the peaceful way. We were shot. Time to arm up. And that's when we get into the meat and potatoes of the troubles of the 20th century.
Yeah. So I mean, it said the troubles ended in 1998, but like, I mean,
there were still the professional IRA is still a thing. They mainly, it's weird. So for a while they were drug dealers. Now they bust drug dealers. Like they beat up drug dealers around Belfast.
Okay.
But they have no power. Sinn Féin, which was originally the IRA's political wing, is still a large political party and the majority leader in Northern Ireland. But yeah, I mean, they've tried to shift away from violence, but there's more so brawls in the street between Irish and Protestants. Like Belfast is a segregated city. You could look up the images, and there's literally one half Catholic, one half Protestant, and it's wild.
Oh wow.
Oh, they have.
Oh, so that's interesting. There are Catholic people that live in Northern Ireland. I'd figured that would be the segregation. Really?
Oh, it's split. No, it's split. And that's why the terrorist group was in Northern Ireland. It was split. Honestly, majority Catholic.
Yeah.
But England, the Protestants held the power.
I know you didn't go to Northern Ireland when you were there, but is it wealthier? Because you said that
Northern Ireland is not. I would not say it is. No, it's
okay.
That's a good issue.
So Ireland, just as a country, isn't very wealthy.
Oh, they're poor as shit. I mean, not poor as shit. It's just weird. There's a lack of jobs. A lot of the young guys I was talking to my age, they all work multiple jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one.
But again, too, it is such a simpler life. I'm sure, like you saw that too.
Oh, dude, it was beautiful. It's just like, all right, I could get behind this. Just be a builder in the hills.
Yeah, seriously, go to the pub.
The pub.
Get a cheeky pint.
We love a cheeky pint.
Yes, but I was looking up here about like the current activity of the IRA, and it says that several splinter groups have been formed as a result of splits within the IRA. The Continuity IRA, The
Provisional,
real
right?
IRA.
Yeah, the real IRA.
That's interesting. They're right to the point there. Yeah.
Well, and that's what the entire group was. So, I mean, a lot of the IRA was actually became Marxist and a socialist
Oh,
in
really?
ideology. It's weird. And I feel like it makes sense how they got to that point. If you just look
Yeah.
at the history of it, it's like, all right, it makes sense that they're like, we need to stick together. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's where a lot of the contention came, especially because they're doing this during the Cold War. And they're getting weapons, a lot of weapons from American citizens.
Hmm.
They're also getting weapons from Gaddafi, who at the time was aligned with the Soviet Union. And they're so it's weird. There's these two shifts. I don't know. That's why there's
Yeah,
so
they're
many
playing
different
both sides there, but like meanwhile
that's why
they're
there's like 4 different IRAs now,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
But honestly, that kind of gives a little more context to the Hitler thing too, because he was obviously a socialist. Yeah, so that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I love dropping that on.
Yeah.
I'm not on the libs. You know, Hitler was a socialist.
uh, but no, well, I mean, do you want to talk a little more about the American involved? We had some like
Yeah,
crazy. You sent me that article
just
because we're
around
from
here.
Boston with Danvers, right? Was that where it
Yeah,
was?
in our area, like the town over from us, fucking Danvers, Massachusetts. I believe it was 1974. Don't check me on dates. I just know the Danvers, Massachusetts National Guard Armory was robbed in the 70s. I think it was like 20, 30 M16s were taken and 5 M60 heavy machine guns.
Wow.
So it's like whatever. People were interviewing it, some investigating it. A lot of the articles I saw thought it was mob related, which easily it could have been. However, one of these M60s, like 8 years later, shot down a British helicopter in South Armagh.
Oh
So,
wow.
and they never found out who did it. And the thing is, there was a lot of parts of our area that were active. I mean, our fucking art teacher's father-in-law was a fishing captain in a seaport by where we live. He did
Oh
30
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in
Yeah.
federal prison because in I think 84, pull up the Valhalla. He got caught
Is that the
smuggling.
boat?
Yeah, that's the ship's name. Look at Valhalla, Gun Run, Ireland. He was caught he was kind of not in the mob, but part of the criminal underworld of Boston at the time.
Yeah,
And
this is the
yeah, well, how many
this is
weapons
the
was he caught moving? It's a
uh
lot.
well it says yeah, so the Valhalla, this is September 1984.
Yeah,
Uh
84.
the gun run, it was an operation to transport weapons and explosives from the US to the Irish Republican Army. It was an 82-foot trawler, left Gloucester, Massachusetts, loaded with weapons, fuel, bait, and ice. Oh yeah. The boat was owned by Robert Anderson and the weapons were purchased by Joseph Murray and Patrick Nee.
Yeah, some good
Uh,
Irish Boston boys.
So this, oh wow, that's interesting. It involved Whitey, Whitey
Yeah.
Bulger.
Oh yeah, Whitey's
Yeah, yeah,
son's.
yeah.
I don't think he was clicked up per se, but yeah, he was running guns for Whitey Bulger. I mean, then
Yeah.
that's the thing, and I think in that fucking Black Mass movie, Whitey was very passionate about the Irish freedom struggle.
Interesting.
I mean, multiple the K&A gang of Philadelphia, they also sent a lot of guns to Ireland.
Yeah, there's an article here talking about Whitey Bulger and his secret connections with it.
Yeah, the IRA,
Yeah,
he was very tight with the IRA. I mean, dude, a lot of in Boston, in South Boston, there's an IRA mural. You've seen that, right?
in South Boston.
Yeah, have you not
No, I
seen the
don't think
South
so.
mural of a dude with an
No, let's
AK
pull
and
it
it
up.
said Ireland will not be free until all
No.
of it is? Dude, no,
Oh
it's
wow.
fucking intense. No,
South
in our
Boston is,
area,
predominantly Irish. Makes
I
sense.
mean, dude, Massachusetts is one of the most
No,
Irish
yeah, very
states
true.
in the country, you know?
A lot of
So
Italians, a lot of Irish.
yeah, so it's bizarre, and there's not a lot of Irish people. I know some of our good friends, Brendan, Keenan, guys like that are into it. Jack as well.
I'm
But
trying to find exact numbers here on what they were transporting there for the Valhalla, but I can't see. Oh, this could be it here. I think it was this is saying 160 guns and 71,000 rounds of ammunition.
yeah,
I
that
don't know if
sounds.
this is yeah.
I know it was a
Yeah.
lot. It was
Yeah, yeah,
submachine
yeah.
guns, explosives,
Seems like
assault
that was it.
rifles.
Yeah. Yeah. 160 guns, 71,000 rounds of ammunition.
So there was guys like that trying to supply the IRA. Then there was
Yeah.
shit like the George Harrison Network, which was this guy in New York who was shipping guns out to Ireland as well. And he was born in Ireland up in County Mayo, and he was in the army, and he was just grew up in Northern Ireland during the occupation, and he
Yeah.
immigrated to the U.S. in like I don't know, fucking late 30s, moved to New York City. Then he was in the army during the in the Pacific. So he
Oh,
served in
wow.
the Pacific, and following the war, he became very involved in this little Irish political club in New York, and eventually he moved back out there. And in the 50s, he's starting to really, the IRA's approaching him, talking to him about shit like, hey, you're connected, you're well respected in the States. And yeah, he moved back and he started running guns for the IRA.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, man. No, I mean,
It's
there's some
honestly,
people.
the more we talk about it, the more parallels with the American Revolution. Because honestly, you could kind of look at it like America's involvement with them is kind of like the French. Because didn't the French like
Yeah, they
send
supported us.
us a bunch of weapons and
Oh,
stuff
fun.
during the Revolutionary War?
Dude, yeah, no, they helped out a bunch.
Yeah.
Same with the Germany, like the Hessians, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like robbing the armories and stuff. That's like I feel like that was the staple of what was that one in what's the big armory back in Massachusetts that they famously robbed? Was it Concord? I think
Yeah.
it might have been in
Yeah, I think
Concord.
that's the most,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, it's a lot of shared history within it. But no, it's weird. They were getting guns from them. Then they were getting guns from Gaddafi. Like there were multiple shipments of
Yeah, you said that.
sevens
Yeah.
and Stinger rockets. So this is funny. Rockets that were made in America somehow got hijacked and then sold to the Soviet Union, then sold to
Yeah.
Gaddafi, which are then being sold back to Ireland. Like those.
So it wasn't direct. It was kind of it
No,
somehow
it was
led
like
there.
proxies. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
Gaddafi
insane.
was heavily supporting the IRA. I don't even know why he loved them that much. I think, yeah, it's bizarre. There's so
Well,
many.
when would this have been? Because
Right, the 80s, 70s,
the
80s.
80s, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Gaddafi
Gaddafi was
yeah,
killed
for a
in
while.
the mid 2000s. Gaddafi,
2012, I believe he was killed.
yeah,
Because that's what led to Benghazi and destabilizing Libya. Yeah.
right. That's interesting. I would have never like put those two together.
Yeah, right.
Very different sides. Yeah,
Same
yeah,
with Hitler.
yeah. They'd go for anyone. It seems it's crazy.
They were desperate. They were pick me girls.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. It says Gaddafi was sympathetic to their cause and also wanted revenge for the U.S. Air Force's attacks on Tripoli and Benghazi in 1986. What does that have to do with the Irish, though?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Gaddafi was crazy.
He was just all over the place here. Yeah, between 1984 and 1987, Libya sent the IRA about 1,000 AK-47s, 6 tons of
That's so
Semtex
many
explosives.
AK-47s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this shipment ensured the troubles could continue for many more years. Dear God. So, yeah, he played a big role there. That's
well, dude, another one for, I mean, just as a firearms nerd, the AR-180, not the AR-15, the AR-180. That was one of the most popular weapons of the IRA. Look up IRA AR-180. There's like YouTube videos on it and shit. It's just a really shitty AR-15 from like the 60s, which was mass produced, but no one really wanted it.
Oh, yeah, it kind of looks like an M16.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And a bunch of them just ended up in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, it's got like the same barrel as like the Vietnam era M16.
So it's totally weird. They're using this. They also they smuggle Dishkas over. I don't know if you're familiar with the Dishka. It's like the Russian equivalency to a 50 cal. You see a lot of them in the videos today mounted on like the back of a fucking pickup truck in Syria. Blasting it.
Or Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly. Although they might be using the Meduse.
Yeah.
But so they shot down a helicopter with that. So they're using NATO weapons and Soviet bloc era stuff throughout the Cold War. It's just really a hodgepodge.
It's just mishmash. I mean, you got to use whatever you can get, I guess, when you're in there.
And
Weird
within
for
that, they're also using bolt action rifles from like the early 1900s, late
yeah,
1800s. They used Thompsons, like all sorts of crazy stuff.
yeah. But like you said, there were no like outright battles too.
There were some. It's
But
just not.
really?
Oh, totally. You could,
Yeah.
yeah, gunfights that would last like 4 to 5 hours.
Oh wow.
In like
But nothing like days. Where yeah,
no, exactly.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like there's a D-Day
Small
or a
skirmishes.
Battle
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
Bulge. It's comparable to what you would see in like the U.S. Afghan War, where it's like, oh shit, that was an 8-hour gunfight. That's a battle.
yeah. You get like someone locked in a house, and then it's just kind of endless for hours.
Um,
Yeah.
and a lot of it was just out in the hills too. They just hit and
Oh,
run,
interesting.
run back to the woods. They had tunnel systems. Yeah, they were weird.
Yeah. Have you seen the Banshees of Inisherin
I
with
have
Colin?
not. You told me
You
I
gotta
need.
watch that because I mean the whole movie's kind of like I think it's meant to be. It takes place I think during the Civil War, and the whole movie's kind of like secretly about that. It's a good watch if anyone listening hasn't seen it either. I think because I think it takes place in the 20s. But honestly, that was kind of like more of an introduction for me about it too, because I didn't know too much about it beforehand.
I
Yeah,
didn't really get into it till I was in college. Really, I didn't know.
yeah,
I kind of knew what the IRA was. I knew the black ski mask, that whole look.
and it is cool from your perspective too when you have those like family roots too.
Yeah, no, our family's
Yeah.
from Northern Ireland. They
So
left Yemen.
what was the overall vibe when you were in Ireland of I mean it sounds like it's still pretty
Oh,
they
yeah,
just
there's
don't
still,
like the British, they don't like
yeah.
Protestants.
Well, I was in a random pub out in Doolin, Ireland, which is a town of like 500 people, and I was drinking
Mhm.
with some people, and this old lady, not old lady, but probably I don't know, 60s.
Sure.
Um, she was like, "So are you Catholic or Protestant?"
Oh my god,
We're
right into it.
Catholic because I was talking about
Yeah.
how I'm Irish, and she was like, "What kind of Irish are you?" And I was like, "Holy shit, what the hell?"
That's like asking an American, are you Republican or Democrat?
Well,
Probably.
have you seen the movie Civil War that just came out by
Yes, I
A24? It
have.
reminded me of that scene with what's his name, where he's like, "What kind of American are you?"
Oh yeah. Yeah. And he's like, I'm from Florida.
And she
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like, "Good answer. That's what this pub is." And I was like, "All right,
yeah.
Jesus Christ."
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
mean, it's weird. This other bartender I was talking with, he was all jazzed up about it and how people don't realize so much of the history of Ireland. That in America, it's like, oh, look at the Irish, St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
It's very much a watered down version of what it really is. And he went on a almost conspiracy thing of how the BBC controls like
Oh dear
every,
God.
dude, they're nutty.
Well, I wonder, do you think I don't know if you could gauge this from being there, but like is it mostly older people? Because I'm wondering, like, when those generations die off, will the younger
No, just for young
generations
people.
care as
Just
much?
for 20. A lot of young people were very
Oh,
much
really?
about it. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
yeah. No, they're
So I
very.
feel like in America, like, like we said, like when we look at all these other countries and their like histories, it kind of makes America just look boring because obviously we haven't had as long of a history. But like I feel like in America, a generation dies off and the next generation doesn't pick that up.
Yeah, we
You know what I'm
carry some
saying?
shit over. I mean,
Yeah. But
racial.
honestly, I feel like it's more yeah. But I do feel like but it is like the Irish Americans, the Italian Americans who like have it's all the immigrant families who kind of hold that stuff together.
Yeah.
Stuff that they came over with, which is interesting.
So do you have an equivalency? Like, was Italy ever conquered? Did the Ottomans ever get a hold of you guys?
No, I don't think there was ever
Yeah, you
Muslim.
guys were always
I think the Ottomans fought the Ottomans took
Ottomans
down
fought the Greeks.
they took down the Western Roman Empire or the Eastern Roman Empire, which was the
Okay.
Byzantine Empire, because the Romans split into two at one point.
Hmm.
So like the west side was the Holy Roman Empire, which was kind of that would have been England too, which makes sense because they were like all in with the Pope. He was basically like the leader there. So I think that the Muslims only were the West or the East. Sorry.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Yeah, I
Dude,
don't think the Muslims never got into like England or anything. Well, now they are, but
dude, the boys were fired up about that one too.
really,
Holy shit. Dude,
uh,
they also are See, it's funny. They're fired up about the Muslim immigrants, but then when you ask them about Israel Palestine, they're like, "Fuck Israel."
Really?
Oh,
Interesting.
they're free Palestine there, dude.
Well, that makes sense because England's very pro-Israel.
And it's actually fascinating. So one of the things I was looking at in Northern Ireland, the murals in Northern Ireland, like on the Catholic side, they all have Palestine flags, and there's murals of like an Irish flag wrapped around a dude's arm in a prison cell, and a Palestinian flag wrapped around a guy's arm in a prison cell coming together. Then in England, all the Israeli flags. It's really crazy to see.
That is interesting.
In the Protestant side, it's all Israeli support.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess we're like kind of so caught in a bubble here in America. You got to wonder what those European countries think of those conflicts.
No, yeah. So at least from what my understanding, it's the Catholics of the North are usually Free Palestine, and the English are Israel, or Protestants are Israel.
Yeah, that makes sense. But and also too, I feel like the Irish are always going to go for the underdogs too.
Yeah, I mean, fucking, I was in Dublin and I saw this random plaque of Native Americans, and it was like a thank you and tribute to the Native Americans because they sent Ireland money during the famine. In the 1840s,
the Native Americans did?
The different tribes were sending Ireland money because they were like, we know what you're going through. We're having that as well.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah.
You know,
I did not know that.
It's moving. Like I got really into Irish history and shit. And
yeah.
I mean, there's so much more I could go into, and I feel bad just because I've been baffling a bit this podcast. I have no notes, nothing.
No, but we can kind of view this as an intro. You know what I'm saying? And then
totally, and we want to go more into it because some of their weapons are insane. Like
really,
they used the IRA. They had a flamethrower. They made mortars out of like 20-gallon steel drums where they would just launch propane tanks at people.
Oh boy,
dude! No, they were fucking nuts.
The next Call of Duty needs to be an IRA one. That's what it seems like.
You can't even find an IRA video game where
probably
nerdy milsim games like Arma and shit, and you can't even mod that. You can play as the fucking Taliban with them,
but not the IRA.
Well,
I do remember.
There's a couple movies. Devil's Own is probably one of the best ones. Harrison Ford and Brad Pitt. That's a great IRA movie.
Really?
Brad Pitt's an IRA member who goes to New York to live with Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford realizes he is.
Does Brad Pitt do an Irish accent in that movie?
Yeah, he does.
Oh boy.
He's young too. It was like early 90s.
I don't know. I guess Brad could pass as Irish.
Yeah, he's a blonde Irishman.
Yeah. Harrison Ford, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why he stayed. I mean, it's still bizarre. I mean, such a weird history.
No, and like you said, we can go into it. We could go specific conflicts and stuff down the road. But I don't know. I feel like that was a good. Having not a lot of notes, I feel like we did a good overview there.
Yeah, no, that was a nice broad overview. I do. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of.
Is there anything else you had?
Some of the other weird niches. I mean, weapons-wise, it's weird. A lot of it was U.S. and then Soviet. A lot of the time too, they would just had shitty handguns. They would try and homemade or like a knife and just steal a soldier's gun.
Whatever you got,
yeah. It's the petrol bomb was popularized over there by the IRA. Just fucking bottle of gasoline with a cloth that you light on fire and you just throw it on a car.
So kind of like a Molotov.
Exactly. Yes. Exact same principle as Molotov.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. This is a funny point. You did bring that up about there's not a lot of movies about the IRA. That is,
Well, dude, I mean, I can go down the conspiracy rabbit hole, but why do you think it's not taught about at all?
Sure. Well, dude, I mean, thinking about it now, like
how much of our are England-based shit like that? I go down
the only reason I know about the IRA, like I've known about the IRA for a while because of Deadliest Warrior on Spike TV.
Oh, that's the only way to end it, actually.
Yes.
That's one of the funniest. What is it? IRA versus Taliban?
Is that what it was? That's a wild combo.
Taliban, dude.
I gotta look this up.
It was IRA v Taliban. I remember well because I was skiing with Jack, and it was me, him, Brendan, and Zach. We were like, all right, let's throw on an episode of Deadliest Warrior, and we fucking watched that one. It was like, holy shit. I miss
Well, yeah,
Spike.
it is funny though, because that literally is probably my introduction to the IRA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yep. Taliban battles Ireland's IRA. Oh my God.
Beast.
May 2009 that aired. What a show. Oh fuck! I forgot they had a video game.
They had a video game for
I
Deadliest
think
Warrior?
so. Am I tripping or no? I thought they did. Hang on.
Could be a computer game.
Yeah, Deadliest Warrior, the game. Yeah, I think I had this. Yeah, it was on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It came out in 2010. That's unreal. Got gladiators, some pirate. Yeah. Oh my dude, this is bringing back some memories here. Comment below if you guys played or watched Deadliest Warrior. Yeah, Deadliest Warrior, Ancient Combat.
We should next episode. We just talk about Spike TV.
Bro, they used to have like old Star Wars reruns on there. I remember.
Star Wars Bar Rescue, Tattoo Wars.
Bar Rescue was on that long ago.
Yeah, man. Bar Rescue started like 2011.
Was it always Johnny Taffer?
Oh yeah.
Oh, great guy. Great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one. I heard he opened a place nearby back home.
I think that he might have a place in Boston, and he always goes
Yeah.
to Sidelines in Salem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like friends with the owner.
I saw someone drove a car in there.
Someone did drive a car.
Yeah.
I literally was gonna go that weekend because I heard the food was good, and then it was like, oh,
Yeah. Car. Was it the IRA? We don't know.
ooh.
Oh. But
Dude,
no, yeah, man.
I got distracted, but I don't know. I feel like we splurged. I don't know. We're still new to this, guys. Don't be mean.
No, definitely. Yeah, and like we said, it's such a broad. With these broader topics, it's definitely harder. You know?
I got to go back. Next one, we got to do that Honduran guy I showed you who killed like 30 dudes with a pocket in Iraq.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, definitely comment below if you guys have any ideas. As always, we appreciate it. Christian obviously threw us down a rabbit hole with Kosovo.
If you're watching this, eat a cheeseburger. Come on, man. Why'd you make me research Kosovo for like 10 hours?
That was a dense one, but I think overall, I hope everyone enjoyed our return. We'll be back.
Casual style, but we're also going to be more knowledgeable about the topic. Don't worry.
Yeah, definitely. But hopefully some people learn some stuff, you know? Have a Guinness, watch an IRA documentary, watch Deadliest Warrior or some whiskey. But that'll do it.
That'll do it.
RJ, Mike, Hungover History, episode 5. We'll see you.